Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
This is Rangru, low, low, low.
And folks, today we're on Slutsk for the first of two matches this week. We're going to the monthly tournament. So who do we have, sir?
Left hand side in the blue, we have Homer playing Grossdeutschland with Vanguard income. Right hand side in the red, we have inshaaaaa playing 97 Guards Infantry with a Maverick income.
You know, taking a quick look over here as the decks, I'm sure the fine people at home are going to kind of see. I'm looking forward to seeing some mortar tracks. Over here from the Germans, like, Grossdeutschland has a lot of really, really great light vehicles, and even including, I would say, those Aufklärer Panzer 38Ts.
Yeah, they're actually, those 38Ts are pretty good because they are equipped with juicy autocannon, which can really shred a lot of light armor and people in close range.
I think we have to watch out for those. We have the 50mm mortars in that northern forest. And you see this happen an awful lot. You throw down the 50mm mortars, they're super quick to come in, fast firing. The only thing you really have to watch out for is keep them too close to the front lines. Of course, not seeing a lot of firepower being deployed just yet, but with the Panzerschreck squad seeing them, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some barrages soon. Yep, they're left for the Panzerschreck. Okay.
Indeed, we're actually seeing a decent amount of heavy armor being brought off the bat here. Two Panther A's from Homer, and actually, you bring both up north. That's a very interesting call, considering it's a bit more CQC. You'd think you'd use the heavy tanks to try to push the southern end. But speaking of the southern end, Homer is also trying to set up a little bit here, bringing in some Marder 3s and machine guns.
But, about the Panther A's, it's true, and I wouldn't really put him on that northern hilltop like he's going to be doing with one of those. But I actually do like this idea of putting the Panther over here on that, just south of the river, south of those two bridges. You control the crossroads, you control the crossings. Now, had he moved him a little bit more aggressively, perhaps we'd be able to fire on that. But it does allow you to really get some interdiction, let's say. With this too, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a big problem. He's close range, he has APCR. The Panthers, need to get those shots on a bit more efficiently. The 75mm half-track doing his darndest.
Transmission damage. He's going to be able to limp, I think, out of there just in time. Yeah, he's going to limp away. Of course, say that, and I thought we were going to get Caster's Curse there for a second. And JU-87 being brought on in. So an early JU-87. I value the idea. It's an interesting idea. There's also ground fire, so that's going to be very, very difficult to kind of see any kind of good, solid push. Checking into the northern side, one of the 50mm mortars has gone down. The other one has moved further forwards and is really engaging. With the Panzer 38T that's right there, both of them actually. You got to watch out for the PTRs, of course. You got to watch out for the DPs with their, PTRDs. But more or less, they're making decent headway.
Yeah, Inch has done a very good job of containing his northern hilltop attack so far. I think the main thing is Homer just invested so much in the heavy tanks, which has a very limited impact so far in the battlefield. As we're seeing, the front line for Homer, most of his infantry has been blapped. He hasn't been able to bring any more reinforcements till just now, as he's stürming in the Sturm groups to try to hold on to the salient.
How do you feel about these pack tracks with the 75mm on it?
Honestly, not that bad for 25 points. Decent fire support for just helping out, and especially early on when there's not a whole lot of anti-tank. They're just good light tank fun.
It's one of those things that I feel they're very situational. Because I look at the DP guards, I mean, look at a lot of Russian infantry, and yes, some of them have to get super duper close to jam their holy hand grenades into the tracks. But I feel the PTRD spam that you see from all the guards may kind of really limit their effectiveness here. The one that was with the Panther, you see him right now. It's a beautiful little s'mores fire. That used to be one. And frankly, the ones down to the south are kind of going into the same kind of issues with a single 45mm just kind of locking things down. So, you
gotta be smart. You gotta stay back.
Fair. Okay, that's fair. I find myself very, very conflicted right now. Which is good, because we're casting a World War II game, so I suppose that kind of is par for the course.
There was a lot of conflict going on in this time period. Did you know that?
I kept watching for the Madagascar front, but thankfully the only one that was fighting down there were the lemurs, so no issues there.
The only war Madagascar win is the pandemic war.
It's true, you would never get them in there.
You never, every time. It's like, oh, I got the entire road. In fact, damn, Madagascar shut down that port.
There's a morbid piece of me that now wants to understand how the pandemic, or the real-life pandemic, affected Madagascar. I have to know. maybe by the time our viewers stream back on Thursday, we'll have a nice answer to that. 13-11 in the meantime, though, Homer does have a minor advantage. I would call it momentary, because I feel like all that really kind of takes is to see the Southern infantry move west just a smidge. But there's a brave MG42 team schlepping their way across the lines, and they're going to start getting engaged with the 45 mil. Oh no, he's aiming for the P38.
Yep, and the MG42 is going to be able to engage that 45 mil and do some pretty good suppression job. Yeah, he really does need to get that infantry up if he wants to push down south. Homer's definitely leading the charge right now, just putting a lot of the aggression up north as well. I mean, both Panthers are still alive. They're in actually pretty good position, so the northern run could potentially get flanked from AT infantry, but that is not happening. So if he can maintain this long-range advantage, he can zone out like the central northern side, and there he goes. He kills the hero unit.
Hero units are really overrated. You know, and I don't mean like they don't really truly get anything extra per se. It's just like, okay, cool, you actually have yourself another fancy unit.
So Eugene can make more dev blogs.
But you know what? I think there probably are people out there and personnel that deserve to be noted. Michael Vittman, for the record, not one of them. But he dies anyway, so it works out. He's like the Sean
Spoilers, I haven't got to that part yet.
They all died. Dude, they're all dead. Think about it. If they didn't die in the war... Actually, we're getting about them more, but here, let me pull back from that. It's 13-11 in Shah's favor now. All of the rush and Sturm and Drang of all of those goddamn pioneers and Sturmgruppe are not enough to actually turn this around.
Yeah, he has, you know, the classic problem. He has the tanks and he has the firepower, but he doesn't have the infantry to, you know, really dig out the Soviets. I mean, up north, there's not a whole lot of Soviet infantry left, but there's only 2 German units in the far northern side, and they can't really run a war by themselves.
No, even the vaulted Panther will not be able to take care of it. I'm not sure why I turned into James Mason for about 2 words, but another wave of infantry moving into the northern side. We'll see how that kind of does, as we also have a Hummel that is trying to engage some of that hidden Soviet infantry. It's an interesting idea there.
Yeah, interesting call, seeing the heavy artillery being brought down. Oh, we're also seeing an IS-2 from inshaaaaa to probably try and counter the Panthers. If he can engage them run-on-run, he does have a good shot, because really it's the Panthers right now giving Homer's, you know, supreme advantage in the northern side.
Well, oddly enough, too, like I think it's rather rare to see Panthers be this effective for this long.
Yeah.
It might be a consequence, I would say, maybe the mishandling of the ZIS-2s, the misplacement of the ZIS-2s thus far in the actual battle space. And one thing I didn't recognize until just now is to see the JU-87 coming in. There's no anti-air back on the field.
Alright, yeah. You should be able to actually do the cool little loop-de-loop and get the bombs off.
Yes, he will. And that guard squad's going to go down, which means they're not going to take out the entire crossroads, but they're going to start to kind of consolidate for sure. Panther, IS-2 starting to engage one another. Nothing too great just yet, but, you know, flirting, saying hello, sending them mash notes.
Yeah. I really liked up north, these groups were forced out of their trucks quite early, just from that one guard DP squad. Again, a few good casualties, but mainly just slowing down the advance, which does give inshaaaaa more time to get units up to the north, and it seems what he's doing. He's got some tanker-descent keys unloading a bit early, probably to foot slog it across the river, up the hill.
Potentially. JU-87 is still on the field. I can't tell if he's trying to just draw out some of that ground fire. I mean, if he is, that's an interesting play. Maybe... No, I really don't know what he's doing. Okay.
He's just, you know, having the time of his life.
That's true, but there's no Patrick Swayze, and there certainly isn't Ghost nor Dirty Dancing, so I'm not sure how I feel about that. I feel like you're wasting time. You could be spent getting back on reloading here. You're already outdated. Don't be worthless. Because just for the record, there is a difference between the two. I just want to kind of call that out.
No, also looking down south
yes,
as well, just Homer's push. He's been slowly just skirmishing here, and he does have an overwhelming amount of firepower, but once again, it's coming down to the infantry problem. He doesn't have enough dudes, enough, you know, boots on the ground to take his area. I mean, just looking at the forest defense here from inshaaaaa, he has his dudes deep in the forest, not on the edge where they can potentially get sniped. And, you know, he wants to bring the fight close quarters because he knows he can win.
True, true. I mean, once you get into kind of, Comrade Sherwood Forest, you have to deal with Lennon and his merry men. So that's kind of going to be a really, really difficult place to kind of take them out. Although, with the Hummel should have range to get down there, I would think, even if it has to shift a bit.
Oh yeah, 100%. It just preferably having a radio down there. Oh, we got grills, a flak 88 being brought in down south.
The grill, you still have to get close enough to the front lines that theoretically that 45 mil can kind of creep on in and 86 you. It's a 2K range, but
a few more infantry.
Yeah.
But Homer is getting that +1. No, +2 now. The northern side is going quite well. And it is always the advantage with the north. If you can fully capture that hill, especially your Panthers, by God, it's easy to defend. And that can really be a game-ridden move if Homer can, get this going. Because he's almost got it.
Well, he's now starting to get a 37 mil on the field here. So he's got some ADA. So the ADA should be enough. There's 37 mil matching him on the Soviet side. So here's the thing. If the IS-2 takes out the Panthers, then there's potential to turn that back around. If the IS-2 gets taken out by the Panthers, I don't know what the heck the Soviets can do to really push this. Because one Panther A, for the moment, he doesn't see a whole lot. But he's putting the P-38T up to kind of spot. Panther A might shift a little bit further south. At that point, he's locking the entire area down.
Yeah, if he loses that last bridge, and he's pretty much buggered with taking the northern side, especially if he loses the IS-2 right now, because then you have to, rate, well, we're only like a minute of tick for current income to get another IS-2. Well, actually, a minute and a half, technically. Anyway, he has to rate a little bit to buy another IS-2 to try to do another engagement with the Panthers. And yeah, if Homer's smart, he can just 2v1.
Well, here's the other issue, too. He can't get across that bridge. This T-34-76 can start lofting rounds at the peak rounds over here in the middle. But who cares? That's not a big deal for him. And now you have the Hummel, which is throwing out interdiction fire, which actually I really, really like this idea. You know that everything's going to be kind of clustered there in the first place. Make him work for it.
Yeah, no, he's really got inshaaaaa very tight in up north. He's, bunched up in this area. He's really lost initiative, and it does seem, Homer will be able to capture the north. I'm actually really surprised inshaaaaa hasn't unloaded all his infantry here and just cross the river by foot and just try to get some foothold, yeah. Because right now it's a little bit too late.
Well, maybe not. You have to realize that the sight lines going across the river. So look where the Strafaniki is, for example. He's going to slowly start moving to the west. Oh, no, good. There we go. Look, check out the sight lines from that. No one can see him.
Oh, the infantry will be fine getting up here. It's just,
yeah.
There's a bunch of Sturmgruppers up top who will be very happy to see him with their Sturmgewehrs. They got to show off their new toys.
That's fair. Yeah, that's true. And now with the Hummel just kind of throwing out random firepower down, to the north. Really, really well done there. Down to the south, actually, was a Pioneer and SDKFZ that just kind of started being aggressive, let's call it. Not to very much effect. In fact, I think we're going to see a surrender here in just a moment.
Ow.
But Homer's got him knocked back on pretty much all flanks, which is a very, very curious opportunity here.
Yeah, he's got 2 Panthers now down south, and it's honestly a little bit refreshing, actually, to see heavy tanks perform so well. I mean, none of these Panthers have actually died yet.
Of course, you say that, and
I say that, yeah.
They're going to die immediately, of course. So if either any Panther dies, actually there should be 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 6. We have potentially 2 yet to be called out. Between the Martyr and the Panther down south, that guard squad's going to go down in due time, but go down nonetheless. And in the north, we are seeing the Soviet infantry is getting quite frisky. Tankos are getting across and up the hill, but not quite being devastating just yet. So.
And we've got the Panther 38T here to provide some fire support, but, well, there's anti-tank rifle fire. But actually, that Panther 38T does have just enough armor to, tank a lot of those shots. Just taking a few critical hits.
Exactly. And he doesn't need to move any longer. He's already there. Ooh, down south. Okay, Homer's really going for the throat. Check this out. So we have Sturmgruppe moving on in. We have P-Shreks and other infantry there to kind of consolidate the event. Actually, I really like this. Oh, never mind. I don't like where those 3 squads are going. I don't like where those 5 squads are going.
Yeah, he's going to go quite deep in there. It kind of seems like one of those posters where I'd want to follow up with a start of a preliminary bombardment, but, well, he has the Sturmgewehrs. Hopefully that'll be enough for him.
Well, and it's up 17-7 as well. Also, IL-2 is being brought back in. But the Flak 88, it's not maybe going to be enough to fully freak that thing out. But maybe get some dispersal? Excuse me. So, Opel Blitz is moving on in. Sturmgruppe are jumping out. Gotta remember, the Sturmgruppe, if you're losing 50% casualties before you get off the truck, that is a problem.
Yeah, you really don't want that to happen. I do love how Inch has the T-34 on the road. Very good position to lock down his infantry. Homer's gonna, bring up those Panthers and just all his other vehicles to try and deal with this. Because this entire, forest is pretty much a good line of sight blocker for Inch to take advantage of. Once Homer can get around the forest and then to start blapping the open field, that's pretty much it for Insha. I mean, he's already lost northern side. Down south, if he loses this, I think he's going to be down for the count.
Yeah, that I would not put it past him. Unfortunately, the Grills has continued to just shoot and obliterate its own troops.
Is it actually do friendly fire?
Yes. Here it comes. Softball is up. Killed at least a couple models there. So he apparently is deciding that Sturmgruppe does not deserve to live any longer, and Boemitz over here is not dead, but that T-34 is.
He's just popping his own dude. I remember back in SD-44, the Avra, you know, that thing shot bloody 280 millimeters of ridiculous light explosives, but it didn't do any friendly fire damage.
I think that's because you had to whistle "God Save the Queen," and I think that was actually the immunity charm. It was kind of like Bioshock 3 for the Songbird call.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a highly technical thing. I wish I could explain it to you, but unfortunately, I don't really understand it myself.
We'd have to have a whole video on it.
Note being taken as we speak. JU-87 going after London's Merry Men over here. Actually, wait, is he going after... No, go after the forest. Just hit the forest, please.
Missing the forest for the trees.
This was the forest for the IS-2.
Yeah, that's actually an odd choice. I don't even know if that'll do a fully stun. What's the payload?
No, it's a 250 and a couple 50s. Congratulations, you freaked out the scouts. So, the Befehle Panzer over here, the Super Führer Panzer, there's a 145 mil, but if that Panther gets into the trees, this is over.
Yeah, I think at this point it will be over down south there. The infantry are doing a very good job of clearing the way, and once again, like, all the Panthers are still alive, right up north. Maybe, I think up north, actually, a few have gone down, like 2 of them.
The transmission damage is dead, the other Panther is dead, the IS-2 is still alive, but the IS-2 is still effectively neutered.
And honestly, Insha has been able to get a foothold back up north, moving the infantry across the river up the hill. You know, you may have a lot of Sturmgruppers, but the Soviets have a lot of penals to throw into their bullets.
Well, another Panther being brought on in as a P4, not enough to really kind of take the IS-2 by themselves, but they don't need to actually win, they just need to make it costly. 45 mil is dead down south. Sturmgruppe are going to continue to kind of aggress over here, and there's a really, really plucky Superior that's being brought on in. Those fire charges are not going to work, my friend.
Oh, there's been multiple instances now, where Insha has had very good flanking positions on these heavy tanks, but he just doesn't have, you know, the weapon systems, pretty much anti-tank grenades, to actually do anything about it, which is a bit of a shame.
Well, the IS-2 kills one Panther, so Panthers they're an endangered species, but they're not quite deceased just yet. And...
Oh, the center, what's going on?
Well, the center, we had a bit thing where the Germans were able to kind of insert some forces, and that pretty well for a time, but there's just enough Soviet equipment over here that they pushed delicately to the west, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, we are going to see that pack track move a little bit further to the north, and with the Führer Panther just kind of engaging. Superior Comparati, it's got enough firepower, but that's just there to kind of engage the Sturmgruppe. And linking back up, that's even worse for them. So
yes, you are getting into that sea phase, so the incomes are going to be quite low at this point. And yeah, Homer still has a very good advantage, 15-9. He's slowly losing a little bit up north, but it's actually starting to stabilize quite a bit here. And just also taking down south has given him a lot of leeway to work with.
True. I will say the IS-2s are probably the only thing that can save this game for inshaaaaa.
Mm-hmm.
And we are watching the new Panther that is up to the north. We are seeing he's probably there to just break the infantry advance. That's pretty much doomed. I don't see that going anywhere at this point.
Yeah, the problem is just getting anti-tank up north.
Exactly. I mean, good luck getting that across the field. Yeah, you have IL-2s freaking him out a bit. You have the other Panther that's being brought in. I think we're actually tapped for Panthers now. That might be the end of the Panther patrol.
Yeah.
But it never ceases to amaze me how far you can go and, let's say, parse out your equipment when you're across Deutschland. I mean, you have to. That's the big shtick about them, is that you have all this smashing, beautiful equipment, but you can't lose any of it.
Yeah, like, you have and it's a very nice amount as well. You also have the Panzer IV to back you up. You have decent, cheap anti-tank guns with the Marder 3s. You got good artillery. You got the Sturmgewehr. It's a very well-balanced division. It really has a little bit of everything.
Yeah, the only thing I think if I could modify the division at all, is makes the Gross Deutschland not so klein in terms of the numbers. It's just like, yes, the Gross Deutschland. How many? 5. And we're actually going to see that salient in the center going to close back up. So it's back to 15-9 here, as some of the Soviet positions are getting condensed. But I don't know if they can be aggressive enough to push to the west. We do have this one Flammenwerfer who's just been watching the entire thing from the windmill. It's like this Don Quixote nonsense. It's just kind of happening. But it works for him.
Yeah.
But it works. So, what do you see? What do your elf eyes see?
I see Insha's kind of gone to what Homer is doing of using long-range heavy tank firepower to try to win these engagements. That's all he really can do. He actually has a decent amount of firepower on the field. It's just taking ground. That's going to be the hard part, especially in these wide open areas. Like down south, you got the Flak, you got... Oh, the Panther's pretty much dead at this point. But yeah, and it's also now... Inter's going to have the same problem Homer did, of getting infantry into the locations to actually take the bloody locations.
You know, and that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Is that we are so almost trained to kind of just fixate on the armor. But when you think about it, the Inshaa's kind of, infantry tab over here, 27 guard DPs. That's what he's got. That's what his entire hope and dreams can kind of be built upon. And even if you just call in a couple of the Focke-Wulf A6s, yeah, they're not there to actually go and stop things by themselves. You can strafe and you can kind of delay, and at this point, you can just make your opponent just dither and dither and dither.
Yep. Indeed. Now the IS-2 down south has pretty much been knocked out. So, yeah, it's going to be very hard for Insha to really... Unless maybe there's something in the center. Like, that would be a surprise move. It's just, yeah, one Don Quixote flamethrower holding that entire front.
I think the axis of advance is just a little bit too slow. And we're going to see, yes, Strafniki Superior, they can move on forward. First guy's going to get murked from his truck by the Panzer Shrek. So, Panzer Shrek's actually shifting about, and Strafniki squad, it's up. Ooh, that was kind of dirty, actually.
Yeah, it's quite lucky for Strafniki, and then just completely and utterly annihilated. I do really like his flank as well. It should be able to catch Homer off guard. You've seen the Marder 3 already fallen back, but you need to need to unload the infantry for them to work. Yeah,
that's true. And we just keep sliding back and forth between, 14-10, 15-9, 16-8. You know, there's a lot of things that are happening. IS-2 goes down but forced to a bailout by the Flak 41. So apparently his finances aren't as good as they used to be. Now he's being bailed out. There's still the other one there, but when you think about the kind of shell load they have in the first place, you kind of understand why their finances are as poor as they are.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually invested in a lot of murder frees now, which is honestly a very good idea at this point in the game. I mean, they can actually deal with IS-2s with those APCR shells, but you just need cheap, defensive, anti-tank guns on tracks to, you know, be able to hold your gains.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a shoot and scoot. Makes sense. Now, we are going to see a rare thing happening down to the south if this game lasts out this last minute. And that's going to be a Flak 88 using its entire shell load. I don't know the last time I've actually seen that happen, legitimately.
Wow. That's... even
It's
on
unusual.
HC.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. This, folks, he's coming for you.
Yeah.
Last round, I thought maybe we could get like a medal here. Last round killing something, but nope.
No. He's pretty much just having target practice on the IS-2.
And now it's he's the target being practiced on, so...
He's done his purpose.
Yeah, exactly. He's delayed, he's fired at airplanes, things like that. So, star of the field here might just be the Flak 88 that actually goes and uses all of his equipment. He's going to die, I think, before this game ends. So I'm going to just give the last couple of seconds here to this brave Flak 88, who is no longer getting fired upon. That's interesting.
Maybe he'll be fine, Con. Maybe he'll go back to Germany and be happy ever after.
That's true. That's true. Unfortunately, that's not most of the tales for these veterans, or tales from the vet, if you prefer. But if you're looking at KD, 1,000, it did not feel that distinct from one another. It felt a lot closer than that.
No, it really did not. I guess it's all the Panthers going down, just one by one by one. Yeah, that's actually quite surprising.
Yeah, and it's not often either that we see the guy who's lost more equipment actually win the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it's kind of par for the course here. Udum, Klebov. One of the 76-2s actually killed, I think, one of the Panthers. That's interesting. So kind of surprising. Like, you can find that softball pitch. And then from the German side of things, shockingly enough, there's really no standouts.
No. Like, as Panthers were there and they had presence, but they're mainly just, like, deterrents. Like, hey, just don't come up any closer. I have a big 75mm gun, and I'm definitely not afraid to use it.
And you know, and I think that's the important thing, isn't it? Is that if you're there and it seems like you're there, at that point people will be afraid and life will get easier.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, really, really successful. It was really, really well done there, Homer.
Yeah, I was just surprised to see heavy tanks actually work for a bit.
Exactly. Exactly. Any final thoughts there, sir?
No.
Well, folks, in that case, then, I think that's going to do it for us today. Until Thursday, of course, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Rangaroo. Take it easy.